Hello everyone, welcome back to a very special video. I'm DTM as always, and we have with us the October 22 updates. And you know what that means? That's right, we have the new weapon refines finally out. As you can see on the screen, thank you Phoenix Master 1 as always for the graphics. And yeah, we will definitely be covering all these units because there's definitely some very interesting refines out there. But before we do that, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that jazz to help support the channel. Only takes 5 seconds to subscribe, but it truly does help out this channel a lot, and I really do appreciate all the constant support. But yeah, let's jump right into Fallen Delthea's refine, Death. Very interesting name indeed. So Fallen Delthea, her original weapon basically just granted her +3 res, and then all stats +4, and then deals damage to herself by 4. So not exactly the greatest, not gonna lie. Now she has grants res +3, all stats +5 to unit during combat, and inflicts penalties on foes speed and res during combat equal to unit's max special cooldown count value +1. Minimum penalty being 1, and if unit does not have a special skill, that penalty will be 1. In addition, she will neutralize foes' bonuses to speed and res during combat, and she still has the self-damage afterwards. That's just the changes to the base effect, and you can see that there is a lot more to this. The refine effect is unit can move to a space within 2 spaces of any ally within 2 spaces. At the start of combat, if foe's HP is greater than or equal to 75%, grants all stats +4 to unit during combat. So what this effectively means is that she gets all stats +9. She neutralizes the foe's bonuses to speed and res, which is really nice because then she effectively like neutralizes the defensive stats so that she can more easily nuke of the foe, and obviously also be able to double the foe. The interesting thing though is that the penalty on the foe speed and res based on the unit's special cooldown count value. Delthea doesn't really have any way of accelerating specials, at least from this weapon refine. And in general, you generally want to have specials that are lower cooldown count so that you can get them procced a lot more often. So like, this is going against that, so I don't think this is really that great, because, I mean, ideally, you'd want to run, like, I don't know, Ruptured Sky, or something like that. But that will only inflict a penalty of -3 on the foe speed and res, right? Like, you definitely don't want to run Aether by any means, because that's never going to get procced, so I'm not entirely sure how this will work out in practice, since, again, she does not have a way to accelerate specials in her weapon effect. Again, you can always use like Heavy Blade or Flashing Blade, but that's just also foregoing running like either any other A or Seal slot. Like, there's a lot of good options for those, like Blade Session, Ideal Skills, that sort of thing, so just not that great. The teleportation effect is really interesting. It's basically like Legendary Female Byleth. But yeah, I don't think she'll be that particularly strong. I mean, I think you can definitely make her work, but yeah, it is sort of anti-synergistic of how you want to run specials on mages these days. Like, in general, lower cooldown count specials are generally better, so yeah. Not entirely too sure about that. But, you know, she's still cool. Anyways, on to Summer Lyn, and Summer Lyn definitely got a very interesting refine, to say the least. Originally, what she had was basically all stats +4, so just like Delthea, not exactly the greatest base effects initially, but now she grants speed +3, effective against flying or armor, and armor foes. If unit initiates combat or foe's HP is greater than or equal to 75% at the start of combat, grants all stats +4 to unit during combat, and neutralizes effects that prevent units' follow-up attacks or inflict special cooldown charge -X on unit. So she gets the offensive portion of NFU and Null Guard, which is definitely very strong. But here's the kicker. Accelerate special trigger in the Refine effect, very nice. At the start of combat, if unit's HP is greater than or equal to 25%, grants all stats +4 to unit during combat. And also, if foe uses sword, lance, axe, dragonstone, or beast damage, and unit speed is greater than or equal to foe speed +5, foe cannot counterattack. So this is not Wind Sweep, because Wind Sweep does not affect Dragonstone and does affect, like, bows. This is essentially like a Wind Sweep, quote-unquote, for melee units instead of physical units. So Fire Sweep against melee units. And that is if you outspeed the enemy by 5, which is really strong because most meta save units nowadays are melee. So obviously with this, they won't be able to counterattack versus Lyn. And yeah, she's just extremely strong, especially now with the armor effectiveness. She will basically be able to stand toe-to-toe with a lot of the far-safe armors out there, especially with this null guard effect. One of the things you see a lot in at least the high tiers of SDR is that the Hardy Fighter far-safe armors tend to run a stance skill on the A, and that is to deny lethality from being able to be procced if it's not already pre-charged. And so what happens is that if, say, lethality or Deadeye is pre-charged, well then Hardy Fighter Aegis will just neutralize that damage. But if it's not pre-charged, then that Deadeye or lethality user won't be able to get it charged because of that stance skill. This is why effects like Tempo are very strong, or like special acceleration are very strong. And Lyn being able to have that in her weapon is absolutely huge. So that means that she can very reliably get off specials like Deadeye or even Ruptured Sky, for example. And obviously having Neutralizer's effect against that prevents units follow-up attacks is also very strong. That will enable her to double as well to get through like any wary fighter effects or things like that. And yeah, she honestly is just really, really good. Going to be a very good far-safe buster. Again, this is really dependent on the matchup, so we'll have to wait on the sims to see how this will stack, but I have a feeling that she'll definitely be a very effective nuke against those far-safe armors in something like SD. So yeah, overall, very strong Refine. Obviously not the greatest stats, but I think she'll be able to carry this. We'll see. I mean, she does get +8 to all stats in effect, so I can definitely see it. And yeah, she did keep the armor effectiveness, which is really nice. So yeah, definitely be on the lookout for Lyn in the near future. So yeah, next we have Fallen Tiki. And Fallen Tiki is, well, let's get into it. So her base effect remains the same. Like originally she just gets the effective against dragon foes, DC, and dragon adapted damage. Now, I mean, that is basically the same as the base effect, no changes there. But the Refine effect is, at the start of combat, if unit's HP is greater than or equal to 25%, grants bonus to units' stats during combat equal to 4 plus current bonus on each of unit's stats. So that is basically bonus doubler, in addition to like the +4 to all stats. And also, if bonus is active on unit, the following will occur based on who initiates combat. If unit initiates, unit makes a guaranteed follow-up attack. If foe initiates, foe cannot make a follow-up attack. So this is a bit of a mixed phase. So what will happen is that on the player phase, you get like an auto double, and if you're tanking, then you have a denying follow-up effect. So Tiki theoretically can have it both ways, but if I'm going to be completely honest, I don't think this is really that good. Like, if you compare this to Dual Duma that we just got as, say, like a save tank, like it just does not compare at all. Like, bonus doubler is just not that good anymore in a weapon effect. Like, it's not even unity or anything like that. Like, this gets shut down really easily with like panic or lull skills, or like neutralizes foe bonuses effects, and it's also just like not enough. Like, you don't have guard, you don't have You don't have like any NFU type effects. You don't have like any damage reduction type of effects. You don't have any special acceleration or anything like that. Like, if you compare this to Duma, it just does not compare. Like, sure, she can mix phase, but mixed phase armors generally are not that good. Like, even if you want to player phase, like, you're not going to beat out Summer Edelgard in that. And theoretically, Summer Edelgard can mix phase too. Like, I think Legendary Tiki is honestly better than this. And also, like, if you're going to run this as like a safe armor, you have to get rid of her preference C, which means that she will have to rely on outside support in order to make use of any of this, right? Without her preference C skill, like Solitary Dream, she won't be able to get these bonuses, and therefore this weapon will be useless. And even then, Solitary Dream is super hard to use because it requires you to be only adjacent to dragons, and that's just not practical in a lot of matches. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure how this Weapon Refine will do, to say the least. But I'm sure you can make it work somehow. Anyways, let's move on to Yarne. And Yarne definitely has a very interesting refine. Initially, Yarne basically has speed +3, effective against cavalry foes, and the interesting thing is that after combat, he reduces his cooldown count by 2. And so initially he was seen as a very good Gale Force option. Unfortunately, he does not have Slaying, and as you can see in this Weapon Refine, he didn't get it still. Anyways, the base effect changes to be grants speed +3, effective against cavalry foes. If unit is not adjacent to an ally or unit's HP is less than or equal to 90% at the start of combat, grants attack speed +5 to unit during combat. After combat, if unit's HP is less than or equal to 95%, grants special cooldown count -2. And so, that is a more lenient condition, since it obviously goes up from 75% to 90%, and he also now gets like more stats thanks to this, as long as he is not adjacent to an ally, so he'll basically realistically always get this, especially if you have him as like a Gale Force initiator with like Fury. That can work really well, and then the rest is just like the beast effect transformations. The refine effect now is at the start of combat, if foe's HP is greater than or equal to 50%, grants attack speed +5 to unit during combat, and deals damage equal to 10% of unit speed. And also, if you're transformed, you make a guaranteed follow-up attack. So yeah, true damage is nice and all, and he effectively gets like attack speed +5. I mean, not +5, +10. And if you're transformed, which ideally you should be, he also inflicts a further attack defense -4 on the foe, and have the impact effect, obviously. So overall, he is a very strong player face option, but again, unfortunately he does not have Slaying, which really hinders him. Like, you would have to run like Quicken Pulse Seal, I think, in order to be able to have Gale Force consistently charged. And so what you will do is that you'll go in, hopefully attack twice, with Quicken Pulse Seal or outside support like Asker. That'll get Gale Force down to 2, and then this special cooldown count -2 will then apply, and therefore you get a Gale Force proc. That's the ideal. Unfortunately, it isn't one tap, and I think honestly there's a lot better Gale Force initiators nowadays, especially from units like Ninjorin, Summer Edelgard, Brave Crom, Brave Seliph even. I don't think Yarne are able to match up with those, but for an F2P option, I think it's fine. 10% true damage is not that much though, and I don't know. I feel like nowadays, like, we had such strong near save units on ARD that it's going to be very tough to bust through those tanks without something huge. If Yarne had like a accelerating special effect, that would be really nice, because then you can one-tap it. But yeah, I guess you would have to run like a blade skill or something like that, which obviously cuts down on the stats that you can potentially get. Still very interesting though, and I can definitely see Yarne working in a Gale Force team, especially like a Beast Force team or something like that. I know that's definitely possible. Anyways, next we have Lethe, last but certainly not least. And Lethe originally just had attack speed +6, which obviously is not that much compared to these modern weapons. Now, her refine is as follows. She still gets the attack speed +6 to unit during combat, but also neutralizes effects that prevent units' follow-up attacks, and deals damage +10 when special triggers. So, obviously having the half of NFU allows her to consistently be able to double, which is definitely a big improvement over the base effect. The Refine effect is as follows. At the start of combat, if unit's HP is greater than or equal to 25%, grants all stats +4 to unit during combat, special cooldown charge +1 to unit per attack, and guard if you're transformed. So yeah, honestly, if it wasn't for this deals +10 damage when special triggers, I would have said that this was essentially designed for Gale Force. Unfortunately, when you do Gale Force, you don't get this +10 damage. But, like, the special cooldown charge +1 and the guard would have been super helpful for that. So obviously, I don't think IS wanted her to be Gale Force. I think they just wanted a very offensive melee nuke, which she can do very well. Special cooldown charge +1 means that you reliably are able to proc 2-turn specials like Moonbow, Glimmer, or Ruptured Sky. And I definitely think that she'll be very strong, especially with the Scar effect will help her survive if like the foe does counterattack. Unfortunately, I don't know exactly where you would actually use this unit. Unfortunately, like, I don't see her being useful in like Arena on ARD unless it's like on like a beast defense, which is not exactly that practical. And like on offense, like, unless you have like a trace skill, she can't really do hit and run as well as say like Brave Selef or Brave Erica, because she doesn't have like the fixed Canto available to her. And again, as we mentioned, the +10 damage is sorta not leaning towards Gale Force. Now don't get me wrong, she still probably can do Gale Force, but because she doesn't have Slaying, you'd probably need to run either Quicken Pulse or have like Asker support, and you also need to run actually yeah, I mean she does have the special acceleration, so she doesn't need like any blade effects, but she does need like Quicken Pulse and maybe even Valoria in order to one-tap it. But again, having the offensive half of NFU will enable her to consistently double, so that shouldn't be too much of a problem. But yeah, overall, I'm not entirely too sure on this and where you would actually use Lethe. That's just my opinion though. Let me know down in the comments what you think of all these refines. And yeah, definitely very interesting batch. The winner, I'd say, is definitely Summer Lyn. I'm super excited to see how she matches against our current Party Fighter Farsafe armors that we have in the meta, at least in SD. And yeah, can't wait to see how that happens, because again, being able to have Fire Sweep against melees and have the tempo is very strong, because it allows you to consistently get Deadeye or Lethality proc through those stance skills. It's actually, those stance skills is actually why you see a lot of AoEs start to take over the meta, because that obviously is not affected by Hardy Fighter Aegis or the stances. So yeah, but Lyn, I guess, is like foreshadowing, I guess, a return to Deadeye and Lethality procs, I guess. I don't know. We'll see how she works in practice. But yeah, those are the refines. Definitely very interesting. We also got the stats, and as expected, Corrin, female Corrin, is very fast and very attack favored, but also not slouching on defense or res either. This is definitely a very stacked stat line. Unfortunately, male Corrin is pretty slow, but that is to be expected. I don't think he is as good as female Corrin, but I guess that is sort of to be expected with IS nowadays. Yeah. Naga Has a pretty balanced stat line, but you're not going to use Naga anyways. Duma, as expected, is very min-max into attack, defense, and res, as expected for a far safe armor. And yeah, definitely going to be very exciting to see how he stacks up. Like, this is when, like, having no armor effectiveness really hurts, because now we have, like, Summer Lyn with that Refine, and being able to be, like, consistently, potentially, like, proc a Deadeye if you have, like, special acceleration, right? And again, we will need to see how he stacks up with Dual Chrom as well. But yeah, very excited to see how Duma performs. And of course we have Nils, pretty standard I'd say. And yeah, okay, so next, this is getting into spoilers for Life and Death 4, the next Tempest Trials. So if you are concerned about that, feel free to stop the video right now. And thank you for watching, I guess. If you're still here, I assume you're okay with spoilers. But yeah, we have new art of the next, I guess, either Ascended or Rearmed Heir. And she looks so good in this art. Like, look at this. She looks so happy now. She looks really amazing. I really like this. Wow, such good art. Super excited to see her and be able to summon for her. And we do have the description of the skills, at least on the enemy phase, or like on the enemy team. Emir Ever Living grants special acceleration, and if you initiate combat or foe's range equals 2, grants all stats +5 to unit during combat, and bonus to units attack during combat equal to 40% of the current HP of the ally with the second lowest current HP at the start of combat. Excludes unit, maximum bonus of 20. That is very interesting. I'm not entirely sure how that would work in practice, but considering that most, at least in something like ARO, in general, you should have everyone having max HP. You should be able to get a pretty good bonus off that. And also, neutralize the effect that prevents units follow-up attacks. So again, that's the offensive half of NFU, which is really good. Allows her to consistently double. And also, if units' HP is greater than or equal to 25% and foes would reduce units' HP to 0, unit survives with 1 HP. So now we have the miracle effect as well, which will allow her to be able to consistently survive if, like, the foe is able to counterattack. So yeah, definitely very interesting. This is not arcane though, so I'm wondering if Heir is just an Ascended hero and not a Rearmed hero. I hope we get more like Rearmed heroes just for inheritance purposes. But no, I'm super excited for this new Heir. It looks really good. And yeah, definitely looking forward to that, I guess, on the next New Heroes banner. But yeah, that is what we have for the update. I'm not as big as like the previous one or the one before that, but that is to be expected since the last one I believe was like the CYL refines, which of course were super hyped. But yeah, let me know down in the comments what your overall thoughts on this update and these refines. And yeah, if you enjoyed the content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that jazz to help support the channel. Only takes 5 seconds to subscribe, but it truly does help out this channel a lot, and I really do appreciate all the constant support. And yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and see you all next time.